presentation. Welcome to our next presenter, Petrokatis, who worked with Dr. Goldie on her presentation. Without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Julia to introduce her project. But thank you so much. We're very excited.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for attending the Honors Thesis Symposium. My name is Julia Petrokatis. I'm a senior behavioral neuroscience major who is mentored by Dr. Goldie. And today I will be presenting my research titled Investigating Memory Strategy Use in Young Adults. To begin, I will provide some background information to frame our discussion. Memory is fundamental to everyday life and is essential to all learning. The hippocampus and cortex are two of the major brain regions involved in the physiological circuits of memory. The hippocampus helps link together sensory aspects of information from memory that are in the cortex. Memory impairment is common in people with traumatic brain injuries. Memory strategies are techniques that help one remember. They range from everyday external aids, like using a planner, to internal memory aid strategies, such as mnemonic devices that facilitate storage and retrieval. Memory strategies are useful for individuals with brain injuries, as compensatory strategies are widely used in memory rehabilitation. The normal aging process is associated with declines in certain cognitive abilities, such as processing speed and certain memory abilities. Memory strategies can improve everyday memory function and minimize deficits associated with aging. While memory strategies have been studied extensively in people with brain injuries, there has been little research performed on the efficacy of memory strategies in the general population. Also, previous research studies have indicated a discrepancy between self-reported and actual memory strategy use. Mnemonics and retrieval practice are well studied and supported in academic settings. A mnemonic device or technique is one used to assist memory, usually by linking or associating new information to be remembered and information previously encoded. Types of mnemonic devices include acronyms, songs, and rhymes. Acronyms are an abbreviation formed from the first letter of other words. For example, ASAP, to stand for as soon as possible. An acrostic uses the same concept as acronyms, but creates a sentence to help you remember the information. For example, to remember the order of operations in algebra, students are taught, "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." Songs and rhymes are effective mnemonic devices. Setting the ABCs to the tune of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star helps children remember the 26 letters of the alphabet. Mnemonics may be underutilized in academic settings, as previous studies from 8th grade to college students indicate they typically know about mnemonic techniques but prefer to use other study strategies. Tests measure the contents of memory, but also enhance learning and retention. Studies show you will recall more of learned information by self-testing than by using the same amount of time to study. Researchers have noted increased long-term retention after repeated retrieval during learning compared to repeated studying. When you recall information during learning, you make new connections and associations in the brain that will help you recall it in the future. This strengthens your memory and increases the chance of future recall. Self-testing provides feedback about information you know well and areas for improvement. When you struggle to recall information, it highlights gaps in your knowledge, which you can address before the final test. Some research has examined how self-selected memory strategies can help compensate for brain injuries in clinical populations. In one study, a patient with global amnesia self-developed and acquired a variety of effective compensation strategies, such as using diaries and notes, as well as verbal rehearsal, to achieve a high level of autonomy in daily life. Another study revealed strategy selection varied across undergraduate students. I developed the following research questions. First, what memory strategies do young adults use? Second, how effective are mnemonics and self-testing compared with strategies students use on their own? And third, what strategies are most effective for verbal memory? I hypothesized that assigned strategies, either mnemonics or self-testing, would be more effective than self-selected strategies. Specifically, the self-test strategy will be most effective. I also hypothesized that in the Choose Your Own Strategy group, young adults' self-reported memory strategy use will differ from their actual use during the task. Students may use strategies they did not acknowledge in the pre-survey. "42 participants participated in this study. To be eligible, participants must be an undergraduate and 18 years or older. A majority of students who participated attended St. Edward's University, but a few students attended other universities. Participants' ages ranged from 18 to 41, with the average age being around 20 and a half. A majority of participants were female, but there were also male and non-binary participants. All education levels were represented from first year to senior year. A majority of participants were psychology and behavioral neuroscience majors, while other majors such as social work, biology, and writing and rhetoric were also represented. This diagram outlines the components of the online Qualtrics survey. The survey was anonymous, and no personally identifiable information was collected. All participants provided consent and demographic information to begin. They then completed a pre-survey that asked participants what memory strategies they know about, used academically, and used in their daily lives. Participants were then randomly assigned to either the mnemonics group, the self-testing group, or the Choose Your Own Strategy group. They read information about the mnemonic strategy, self-testing strategy, or were instructed to consider strategies they know about and select one for the task. A list of 20 words was provided, and participants had 5 minutes to study the words using the strategy they learned about or considered. Participants then completed a 3-minute word list memory task, where they wrote as many words as they remembered from the word list. After the task, participants completed a post-survey that was specific to their condition, exploring which strategy or strategies they used, the helpfulness of the strategy, and their likelihood of applying the strategy to their studies or daily life in the future. On the debriefing form, all participants were provided with additional information and resources. The pre-survey revealed the strategies that were most well-known. Most participants knew about mnemonic devices or acronyms, self-testing, retrieval practice, or active recall, and repetition. A smaller number of participants knew about writing things down repeatedly, spacing learning activities over time, and chunking information. The pre-survey also revealed the strategies that were most commonly used academically. Most participants used repetition, self-testing, retrieval practice, or active recall, or rewriting. A few participants used flashcards or Quizlet, mnemonic devices or acronyms, and spaced their learning activities over time. According to the pre-survey, the strategies most participants use in their daily lives include repetition and writing things down, whether in their phones, planners, or calendars. Some participants use the association technique or mnemonic devices in their daily lives. This graph displays the memory test score by condition. The x-axis represents the group participants were assigned to, and the y-axis represents their score on the memory test out of 20 words. 15.58 was the average score in the mnemonics group, 14.64 in the self-testing group, and 15 in the Choose Your Own Strategy group. These scores were not significantly different from one another. This graph displays how helpful participants found their strategy. Participants rated the helpfulness on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being not at all helpful and 5 being extremely helpful. Participants in the mnemonics group scored the helpfulness as an average of 3.92, as 3.91 in the self-test group, and as 3.67 in the Choose Your Own Strategy group. Once again, these scores were not significantly different. This graph displays how willing participants were to apply the strategy to their studies. Participants rated their willingness on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being very unlikely and 5 being very likely. Participants in the mnemonics group rated their willingness as an average of 3.58, as 4.27 in the self-test group, and as 3.83 in the choose-your-own group. These scores were not significantly different. Lastly, this graph displays how willing participants are to apply the strategy to their daily lives. Once again, participants rated their willingness on a scale of 1 to 5. Participants in the mnemonics group rated their willingness as an average of 3.25, 4.09 in the self-test group, and 3.75 in the choose-your-own strategy group. Participants were a little bit more likely to apply self-testing compared to mnemonics, but it was not significantly different. After investigating the choose-your-own strategy group surveys individually, I identified the most effective strategies. Creating a story was most effective, as the 2 participants who did so remembered all of the words on the list. Creating a stronger rhyme, saying the words out loud, grouping words together, and self-testing were also very effective strategies. Other strategies participants chose to use included rereading the list, creating an acronym, and writing out the word list. In conclusion, the results of this study indicated all memory strategies were equally effective. The hypothesis that assigned strategies were more effective than self-selected strategies was not supported. Based on the memory test score results, the mnemonic strategy, the self-test strategy, and the strategies participants selected were highly effective. The hypothesis that self-reported memory strategy use will differ from actual use during the task was supported. For example, some participants in the choose-your-own strategy group chose to create a story with the words and did not report this strategy in their pre-survey. This was a highly effective strategy on this task. This research showed that memory strategy use is diverse and individualized, as students reported using different strategies they knew about, used academically, or used in their daily lives. Participants in the choose-your-own strategy group also chose to use different strategies for the same task. One strategy is not better than the other. Students must discover what is most effective for them to optimize their learning. The benefits of memory strategies are not limited to people with brain injuries. This research revealed that memory strategies are also useful for the general population. Future research studies should examine other memory strategies. One student knew about the encoding specificity principle that includes studying in the context for being tested, and another mentioned chewing gum while studying, and again during testing. Also, one student mentioned eating blueberries while studying improves memory. These would be interesting to explore further. Thank you.
I'm going to invite, before we take a couple of questions, I'm going to invite your advisor, Dr. Goldie, up to present you with the floors and stole that you'll wear at graduation to celebrate everything you've done in honors, and also to say a few things about working with you on this project. There we go. So I've gotten to know Julia for quite a few years now as her academic advisor, and also in my cognition class, where she actually did her final project on using retrieval practice to improve her physiology exam scores. And so I was really excited when Julia wanted to expand on that class for her thesis. A few things that I will brag on Julia about: she's super organized and always prepared. She's always willing to help out, whether it's running our EEG demo at the Neuroscience Symposium or all the work I know she does with campus ministry. And if not for Julia, I would know that there actually is inherently some truth to the fact that blueberries are good for your memory. Julia wants to be a PA, a physician assistant, in the future, and she's going to be amazing. She's got the knowledge, she's got the critical thinking and the drive, and most importantly, the compassion to do well in that role. So I'm really proud of you. Congratulations. Questions for Julia?
Congratulations. Thank you. Also, do you think you changed the age
a good question. Possibly based on the strategies they use in school at the time, they might be more familiar with a certain strategy. Like, younger students, for example, maybe counting would be helpful. So something like that, more specific to their age range. But I think it would definitely be interesting to explore these strategies in younger students and see how their scores differ and how they approach the test.
Thank you so much, Julia.